Hey everybody, I'm back. Rick Gualtieri, aka Silas Kane, aka the Arrow of the Gods, and I'm here for another badly read Shingles preview. This time I figured I'd give you a little bit of The Legend of Jimmy Headshot, which is Shingles Book 6, also written by yours truly. As before, Shingles is available for Kindle Unlimited, or if you want to hear them read back to you in a way that doesn't suck, go and get Shingles Audio Collection Volume 1, which I believe this one is also in, which is read by Cal Wembley and Cassandra Miles, who are both highly professional narrators and thus do not suck like I do, sitting here in my not even remotely acoustic room with my with my toys in the background and my and my stuff, and I'm just the guy who wrote it. I'm essentially kind of like the dumb pipe, if you will. They put the talent into it. But that said, this one I kind of enjoyed writing because I guess it was a chance to kind of take the gloves off. Gary's Children, like my first Shingles book, it was fun and all. We were still kind of figuring it out, but with this one, I was like, well, screw it. We were all starting to figure out that there really aren't any limits on what we can do with Shingles. So this one I had fun with. It was basically, what if there was a zombie apocalypse, but the main character who was dealing with it was just this insufferable douche of a gamer who's just been preparing his entire life for it. So the main character is his name is Jimmy, and he's a 12-year-old Xbox PlayStation 4 kid who's basically just been waiting for something like this to happen, and now it is his moment to shine. Except he's going to be a complete asshole about it. And well, let's be honest, there's some definitely escapist fantasy here, and also, the truth of the matter is, writing a character that has absolutely, I guess, no fucks to give, no real positives about them. Something every so often for a writer that's fun. We want to make our characters sympathetic, but every so often we want to just throw that to the side and say, screw it. Here's a story about an unashamed asshole. Anyway, here is an excerpt from The Legend of Jimmy Headshot, which is Shingles Book 6. Eat or be eaten. What am I supposed to do with this shovel, Jimmy? You mean besides digging your own grave? Use it as a weapon, Mom. Swing the sharp edge hard enough and it'll be lights out for any zombie, but you have to aim for the head. Are you sure they're actual zombies? Maybe they're just sick and... I stopped in the middle of the street. We were less than half a block from our house and already it was starting. You know what's sick? Me. I'm sick and tired of listening to your questions. Stop trying to rationalize this. You saw what tried to get into the house. It had no eyes. It was missing half its fucking face. People that sick are usually not busting down doors to sell you whatever shit they're peddling. I don't care how far behind they are on their monthly sales quota. So far so good as far as not being swarmed, but if we kept talking, that was going to quickly change. The screams I'd heard earlier had fallen silent. It was far too much to hope the victims had turned the tide and won. No. Most likely half of them were rotting in some undead dude's stomach, while the rest were getting ready to reanimate and start the cycle all over again. It was a nightmare version of the food chain, and we were at the bottom. Well, some of us anyway. How you holding up, Dad? This sledgehammer is heavy. Fucking pansy. That's kind of the point. It'll smash skulls like they were made of glass. A crushed zombie head equals a dead zombie. But I thought you said they were already dead. I mean, really dead. As in, don't get back up and try to take a bite out of you dead. I would have reminded him what happened to Grammy, but if he started crying again, I was surely going to lose my... Shit. Movement registered in my periphery, and I spun to check it out. I'd be damned if any undead dickheads were going to sneak up on me. It was a false alarm, though. A couple of squirrels were playing around on the grass. I caught sight of their tails just as they darted away, probably to celebrate the end of the world by fondling their nuts or something. Mom and Dad both let out two hysterical little shrieks at seeing me react so quickly. Useless as tits on a bull, those two. The only one being blissfully quiet was Darlene, which was a minor miracle in itself. It had been pointless to give her a weapon. She was only 7, and a particularly dull-witted 7 at that. The little putz could barely butter toast without screaming for help. That was fine, though. We could always use her as a distraction in case we ran into a herd of the undead, so the rest of us, aka the useful ones, could escape. Sadly, just as I was turning around, ready to lead us on again, she decided to end her silence. "Carleen!" Her shrill voice pierced my skull as if it were a .50 caliber slug. "I forgot Carleen!" "What the ever-living fuck is a Carleen?" I snarled. "She's my doll!" Darlene and Carleen? My mouth dropped open. Was she for real? Her arms were already full of fucking dolls. She was a veritable walking graveyard of naked Barbies, Disney princesses, and cheap dollar store knockoffs. "You already have lots of dollies, sweetie," Dad pointed out. "But Carleen is my favorite!" I turned back and pointed an accusing finger at her. "If she was your favorite, then why the fuck didn't you bring her with you?" "I need her!" My sister's words cut through the silence of the street like a hot knife through an eyeball. It was several seconds before her voice finally stopped echoing through my brain, but when it did, I heard something far worse. The sound of dragging footsteps. Shit, they'd found us. I considered my options. 4 shots left in the gun, but using them would end up making even more ruckus than my little skeeve of a sister. If just barely. We needed to end this quickly and quietly. It was time for Spaz to make his grand debut. "I need to go get Carleen!" I just pulled out my zombie killer of choice when the pitter-patter of stupid feet caught my ear. I spared just enough of a glance over my shoulder to see Darlene running back toward our house, presumably to get a doll that was almost certainly smarter than her. "Darlene!" I could tell from Dad's body language that he was getting ready to bolt after her. Pathetic and predictable. "Hold your ground." "She's just a little girl. She'll be killed." "So will we if you run off half-cocked. Look!" I pointed toward 4 figures that shambled into view from one of the nearby yards, the Curtis place if I recalled correctly. And lo and behold, Ma and Pa Curtis were leading the way, followed by their twin sons, Abel and Abraham. They didn't appear as if they'd been dead for long. "Let's break up this family for good," I barked. "Mom, Dad, you take the parents. Remember, aim for their heads. I got the twins." But Darlene!" "Forget Darlene. She made her choice. Now we have to make ours. I, for one, choose to live." I knew the Curtis twins from school. We were in the same grade, but that didn't make us friends. Bunch of sanctimonious assholes. But then, what did you expect from a family who named one of their kids Abel? Great choice there by the name. By the way, naming a child after the world's first murder victim. Nice to see he was living up to his namesake. The arms of both twins were covered in bite marks that were too small to be human. Thanks to Mr. Raymond's info, it painted a picture, giving me a clue as to what had happened to them. The kids had probably been infected first. By what? More cats maybe, but that didn't matter at the moment. Their parents had been next, most likely crying out such idiotic platitudes as, "It's your mommy, don't you recognize me?" even as their former kids were busy taking bite-sized chunks out of them. They say love is a many-splendored thing, but during a deadly outbreak of virulent plague, all it did was make you a fucking imbecile. Can't say it surprised me, though. What did was the speed at which Abel charged forward. It wasn't quite an outright run like in more recent zombie movies. A sad attempt to ratchet up the danger by making the undead seem like the progeny of Usain Bolt. It was more shambling lope. Kind of what you would expect from someone whose legs still worked, but whose brain was too liquefied to know how to properly use them. Either way, it got the job done, and Abel closed the distance between us with surprising speed. Sadly for him, this was one pitch I was ready for. I swung Spaz just as he stepped into range. Home run, fucker! Maybe I should have named my bat Kane instead. One of the nails sunk deep into the side of Abel's head, and it was instant lights out. He went down in a heap, and I yanked Spaz free. Sadly, his brother was almost as fast. He was on me like white on rice before I could pull back for another swing. All I saw were teeth coming at my face, and then clink. The idiot's chompers clacked onto my faceplate and slid off. My turn. I reared back and headbutted Abraham, feeding him a mouthful of carbon fiber and hard plastic. That sent him staggering back enough to let me stab out with Spaz's business end. The bayonet went into his mouth and punctured his palate. I felt the blade scrape against the back of his skull, but I already knew I'd won. Abraham twitched once and then dropped like a bad habit. "Oh yeah," I said, "I proclaim you emancipated from life." Maybe I'd forgo the historical one-liners next time. I kind of sucked at it. It didn't really matter anyway, so long as they were all dead. All. Oh, crap. Quick as I was to celebrate taking out the Curtis twins, I spun even faster. As expected, both Mom and Dad were making a fucking mess out of things. Mr. Curtis had Mom pinned to the ground. She'd managed to get the shovel between them, so he was biting the handle, but it was a losing battle if ever I saw one. As for Dad, he'd gotten the better of Mrs. Curtis, but couldn't seem to understand why she was still crawling toward him. The freaking idiot had nailed every part of her except where it counted. I made a mental note to kill them in their sleep if they didn't improve quickly, then leapt back into the fray. First up was Mom, since she looked about 3 seconds away from becoming an appetizer. I stepped in, raised Spaz high, and brought it down with a solid clonk, splitting Mr. Curtis's head and raining gore down about my mother. Served her right. Maybe a hot shower of hot brains would wake her the fuck up. Yo, Dad! If I had to save him too, I was going to be in one hell of an ornery mood come dinner time. When he looked up at me, I raised a finger and slowly pointed it toward my noggin. Oh, yeah, forgot about that, he called back. Does it have to be in the head? That seems so mean. Yeah, smothering in his sleep was definitely on the table. Mrs. Curtis was a mess. Broken arms, legs, and a crushed torso, but she was a mess that was still trying to bite things. That meant she was dangerous. Do it! But, do it! I repeated. Dad looked like he wanted to puke, but then he finally nodded. He lifted the mallet, closed his eyes, and then gouged out a good chunk of the pavement as he completely missed her head. Now do it again, idiot! This time he didn't miss, popping her skull like an overripe grape. Hopefully the street cleaners had gotten the memo about the world ending, because if not, they weren't going to have a fun time scraping up all of her pieces. Good, I said, throwing the old dog a bone. Next time, do better. And there you have it, a brief bit from The Legend of Jimmy Headshot, which is Shingles Book 6. As I said, kind of one I had a lot of fun writing. Anyway, once again, just a reminder, Shingles is available for Kindle Unlimited, and wherever you may enjoy audiobooks. And the audiobooks are narrated by Cal Wembley and Cassandra Miles, and who do an excellent job. Check it out, and however you may wish to. Links to them are in the comments. My name is Rick Gualtieri, and this has been The Legend of Jimmy Headshot.